Hey everybody, young and old, guy or gal, or should I say even spoon or spork. It is me, Josh, aka Proxy, bringing you a quick little video. This is just one of the games I've been playing in between the kind of dry heat that is video games at the moment. Obviously it's 2018, we're kind of waiting for the new batch of video games this year to come out, and I think a lot come out on Friday. We have things like Monster Hunter World and Dragon Ball FighterZ. I said it right this time, I'm so proud of myself. But in between that, I've actually been playing this game, which is called Echo. I'm actually working on a review at the moment. It's kind of like a indie third-person stealth adventure in a sense, but I just completed it and I thought it was really good. Kind of the review in itself in a way, I guess. But I just wanted to show you a quick little bit of it, and this is just the introduction, and then also just wanting to say that it's really good to find those little indie games that kind of just like really surprise you. And so like with this one, like initially when I'd seen like the trailers and things, I thought, oh, it's kind of gonna be like, you know, you can tell it's budget, but at the same time they've been able to do like a really cool kind of like artistic style with it. And then I turned the game on and I was so surprised by the visual treats that this game is. Like, it looks like a, and as they quote it, a AAA title. And so this is Echo, and I was just so blown away, especially by the costume design, the character kind of like world building and everything like that. It's just really cool, really awesome. And so I wanted to give you a tiny little peek at it before I do my video review. The game is pretty much a stealth adventure game, as I was just saying, and it's kind of unique in a sense because what you're basically doing is you're going through these labyrinth palace rooms where you're fighting against yourself. Now you may think to yourself, well, that seems a little bit lazy. Does that mean that all the enemies are just you? Well, kind of, but it's this thing where there is so many kind of like little mini factors throughout the story that just kind of justifies it. Like, as you can see, the character model is really good. The suit looks amazing that she's wearing, and it's this thing where everything from the story to the visuals to the reason for the game mechanics, everything has like a piece of evidence when it comes to the justification of it being utilized and used in that way. So why there are copies of her, why are you actually going against doppelgangers of N, who is the main character, there is a reason for this. And it's this thing where you might think, oh, maybe they're just kind of getting lazy, and instead of making like loads of different enemy types and stuff, maybe this way they can save on time, possibly, potentially. But it's this thing where once you're building up to actually meeting these kind of blank-faced individuals that are trying to hunt you down and kill you, they actually have even more assets used to actually just even justify them. And it's this thing where I really appreciate this kind of a developer sticking to their guns, sticking to the game design that they obviously wanted to make, but then also doing it in a way where it's really high quality. It's like a really polished presentation, and you can obviously tell that by like these like grand palace like rooms that you're going through. They're so nice, and it's something that we're not really used to, because it feels like a lot of video games go for this kind of like drab thing. Like, when was the last time you saw a video game that used white as a room? Like, maybe Portal? But that was years ago, and so it's this kind of thing where this is like really just pretty. And the other thing as well is that not only is it just a visually striking game, it's also a really fun gameplay experience too. Like, the game is very stealth focused, and so if you are into stealth games, I mean, it's not kind of like, say, Splinter Cell, where you can do all these kind of like advanced maneuvers and stuff like that, but within the confines of the game and the game mechanics, it actually kind of makes you think on your feet and actually try and like wield, you know, the gameplay mechanics again as well to your own advantage, to actually defeat your enemies in a sense, if you want to call them your enemies. And it's this whole spoiler thing, I don't want to ruin it and stuff like that. It's so good. And so yeah, I said oh my goodness, I have let myself down. When was the last time I said in a video? I have this rule that I'm not allowed to say I'm not allowed to say oh, I just did it. Oh my goodness. But it's been a long day. It's been a very long day, but really cool game, really fun, really spooky and eerie as well. And it's one of those things as well where the music just adds to that kind of unusual tension. And it's also this thing too where the game isn't handholdy, like it makes you want to figure it out for yourself. And there are so many possibilities when playing this game as well. Like, you always go down a set path the first time, obviously, but these rooms are so big that you end up potentially exploring them in multiple ways in future playthroughs. The game has an accessible 6 hours to it as well, and so it's this thing where obviously you've got all these different chances of taking on the levels in different shapes and forms of your own playstyle. when you make it your own, but also because when you complete the game, it actually has unlockables like, say, 2 new difficulty types, and I feel like this actually might make it even more intriguing, because the way the game basically runs is that you have your character here, she can sneak around. It's kind of hard to sneak per se, because you have to use obstacles to hide behind, but then, like, say, you can sneak up behind an enemy, you can, like, choke them, or later on, you can, like, say, get these little, like, cell upgrades to use the pistol on your back, which is called the riot gun, and the riot gun basically has like a single shot to it, but it uses those little triangles next to your head, which are kind of like your suit's energy system kind of thing, and so to like get more of those, you have to try and find these little like white circular sphere orbs, like recharge one cell, and you can actually fire off another shot, or say if you want to like jump off like if you want to vault off a staircase and land like 2 stories down, the suit will actually like, what would you say, kind of like hamper that kind of impact from the fall. And so it's this thing where, again, everything has some form of justification, and I really like that. I really appreciate that. You don't see that in many games. Like, a lot of games kind of go, right, well, it's a video game, so this is the thing that you have in the video game, and that's why. Like, for example, say, like, if you were playing Halo, like, what is the reason for having a shield that recharges? Like, what is the... How does it recharge? You're wearing a tank piece of armor. Like, is there something on your body that kind of, like, explains how the shield recharges? It never does. It just kind of says, like, the whole thing with video games, it says, oh, the shield system is recharging, blah 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 blah. But in this game, they actually really try hard with the lore. They actually try hard when it comes to, again, explaining everything that exists within this world, from the characters to the suit itself, even the cube that is on your back. And it's this, I'm not gonna spoil anything, it's really really cool, but I was just surprised. And it's this thing as well where it's such a shame that indie games, especially when it comes to ones like this, can be overlooked, because you don't really see much spotlighting for things like this. Obviously, when it comes to a AAA game, or when it comes to, you know, those first-party titles, they're the things that get the spotlights. But at the same time as that, it's this thing where maybe there needs to be like kind of like a system where games like this can be seen above radar. You know, maybe like, I don't know, it's just... I just feel bad for it, you know, because I ended up playing this game. I got it in the sale. I really, really wanted it, but I was a little bit tight on cash, and so when it came on the sale, I got it, and I just regret just not going for it, you know? It's that kind of thing where you kind of feel like that when it comes to indie games. You're like, maybe I could get it. What if it's not going to be, like, worth the money in the end and stuff? And I'd already seen, like, trailers and thought, this looks so good. Like, I really, really want this. But again, it was this thing where I feel like I should have just taken the dive. I feel like I should have just given it my money. And it's one of those weird things. I never thought I'd say that about a video game. I really want to give you my money. Because a lot of games just want to take all your money. But this game feels so respectful. And it's just through that core gameplay design. It's that thing where, again, it's not just a video game, it's a story. It's also kind of like secretive in its story too, and so while it doesn't give you loads of story in the game, because obviously it's an indie game, but also the way that they've designed it, it's that kind of thing where I just don't know, like, you just appreciate that the developers have done what they've done. In a sense of, like, again, they've stuck behind the design, they've walked into this knowing what they want, and they haven't changed it or anything like that. You don't feel like they've kind of, like, gone halfway through and then given up. Like, the entire experience is a journey, and I just love that. I just love when a game does that, when developers do that, when you can tell that their core idea is there, and they just know what they want from start to finish. That's just really badass, and I appreciate it. I mean, there's really games that you could actually say in the comment section below that kind of, you share that relatable experience too. Like, this is really cool here. This is actually where all the echoes, or as they're called, these doppelgangers, know about you and decide to chase you. And then basically what happens is they can, like, copy all of your moves. Like, I've just gone through water here, and that means that the enemies can't walk through water, but now there's this kind of like blackout thing that's happened, everything's going to restart in a moment, which is really, really creepy. But it actually means that all of my actions that have been taken, they can actually copy them in the next phase of light. So that means that they can actually cross water now that I've crossed water. Then in the next blackout after that, everything resets and they'll use all the moves from that light cycle. It's really, like, it might sound complicated, but it's really, really cool. They are kind of like doppelgangers in every shape and form of the word, the term, because they basically copy what you do. And it's this thing where you can, like, say, open and close doors, and then they'll be able to open and close doors, but then in the next one you might only vault over things, which means that they can't cross through doors, and so they have to actually go through the whole working around of going over obstacles and stuff. And it's just really clever, and it's this thing where, and I say this in my review, is that the game really kind of revels in simplicity, and it's this thing where the simplicity is a really good starter. It's like this thing where you can actually see where they've laid the groundwork for what could be a possible series, and I really hope that Ultra, the developer behind this, pushes it further, makes another one, maybe in like a, what would you say, like an Ultimate Edition, where it even has more content, even more like modes and stuff. Like, these like Grand Palace runes feel kind of like randomly generated, but they're not. But it's this thing where I actually hoped, I kind of wish that there was kind of like an Infinity Rune version where you could see how far you got, because the game kind of is fun in that sense, where it has all these different challenges, and you have this thing where obviously with the doppelgangers, they're kind of just, you know, copies of you, and so being able to have them kind of like put this challenge and see how far you can go in like a survival endurance way, even if like say Twitch and like live streaming in general, it'd be just like a really cool idea. And so yeah, me waffling on about Echo, really cool game, doing a review of it at the moment. I would love to know if you played it, if you've looked at it and you've been kind of cautious about it, but really fun, really awesome, very intriguing. The story leaves so many questions, and I think that's a really good thing. That thing where it leaves you wondering more about it, you know? And so, really like it, really appreciate it. Just all the way around. Anyway, it's me, Josh, showing you some Echo, and I'll see you all next time. Ciao for now.